We are having a discussion today
Yes,
about
we are.
some of the core, really the core beliefs of unity. So, how many of you have been in unity for quite a while? Just a show of hands. So, the five principles are not something new to you. You've heard five principles, you hear them quite a bit, right? How often do you really study those and have a life shift in those? Have you? You really taken a look? Ish, maybe? A little bit? Yeah. How about you? What does that mean? Because you came from CSL,
Right?
and so five principles, while aligned, were something newer from a CSL perspective. Yet the wording is very similar.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, we could really end with Peter's song right there, Stuck in the Same Old Storm Again.
Yes.
That was the story of my life till I got into CSL and now my beloved Church Unity. So
Yeah,
that starts us off.
Yeah, well, you mentioned this morning when you saw the slide that said "Welcome Home,"
Oh,
and it brought tears to your
it
eyes
did.
because that's truly that home feeling that we
Yes.
have here in our community.
Yes.
So when you think of five principles, because that, if people say, what is unity? I always like to say unity is more than the capital U unity in a name of something, but it's the value
Oh,
of
yes.
unity for sure. And our five principles really help us with that toolbox. I like to say four principles actually, because five, the fifth one, is really about the application.
Yes.
So when you think of five principles, which one comes to mind for you that's your daily usage, something that's embodied with you as a minister?
It's so hard. I've thought about that this week a lot, Reverend Doug. And I think when I first entered, I was so naive to metaphysics completely. And when I first entered, it was the third principle of unity that really caught my attention before anything else, was that I could change my thinking and change my life. That never occurred to me. Never. I had the same rote thoughts over and over and over again. So when I heard that, I thought that's not possible because I've already got a mind full of thoughts. There's no room for any more thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So that really started the journey. And it took quite a while for me to take a God out here judging me. You know, Santa Claus, yes, you're good. No, you're going to be punished this year. To take that God with a male face, so to speak, nothing against males, but that was what I was presented with,
Sure.
into my heart. And know that instead of I was a sinful person, that I was a living blessing. That took a while.
Mm.
That took a while. And there are days I still have to work with that.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
that thoughts create things. That third principle is really what that's about. And that could be manifestation, it could be affirmative prayer, but there's something much deeper than that that's on the surface because we have a relearning to do. Does that make sense to everyone? A relearning the things that we were thought, the things that weren't our thoughts that were placed upon us. You should be this, you should be that. So we begin thinking, I am here to do these things that everyone else has set up for me. But what do I really think about that? And what is the manifestation going to happen in my life if I begin to affirm the good? Because I don't know, from my perspective, that I grew up really seeing that the world was a good place.
oh, yeah.
And you can look around at any moment. Actually, in contrast to what Peter was seeing just now, I actually saw that there was a black cloud following me everywhere I went. Does anyone know what that feels like? To know that
Yes.
when it rains, it pours. And then tomorrow it's like, it's kind of like, anybody watch SNL, Debbie Downer? It's almost like this whole thing of like everything, well, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That's right.
And then I realized that if I shifted my perception of what it was around me, my inner world, that I looked around and things started looking a little bit differently. People started showing up differently. I was co-creating my own world. Did you notice that difference for your own life when you started shifting your thinking?
Oh, absolutely.
When did
Absolutely.
is there a particular time you remember that was a big shift that happened?
Well, I think one of the big shifts that happened is I was always taught that we could use God. We would pray to a God for health, for whatever it was. But that God could use me, that I was, and this isn't from ego, but that I was important enough because I wasn't dirt of the earth, that I was important enough, Reverend Doug, that God could use me as a vessel for its glory, its beauty, its wisdom, clarity. Me, a sinner,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I get the chills. What a life transformative thing that is.
Yeah. I grew up Southern Baptist, and that's where I really learned my scriptures really well. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, but she was a metaphysician without us putting a name to it.
Yeah.
Because I would often ask questions, as a child in Sunday school about what does this mean, what does that mean? And she would always flip it around. She goes, well, what does it mean to you? Now, I hadn't heard that before because the rest of the teachers were saying it means this and follow this. And I can remember specifically Matthew 5:14, which was where Jesus says, a city built on a hill cannot be hidden. I've come here to be the light in the world, but you are too.
Yes.
You are also the light in the world. And I shared that with you this week, and you asked me back that question because she said, but you are too. And I thought, wow, with that comes responsibility. That if you're really called to shine your light, you're actually co-creating. That's third principle.
Yes.
But first, you have to believe in the non-duality approach of our first principle. Our statement of faith that we say every week is really, truly our first principle. There's only one presence and one power, and that is God the good. That's a non-dualistic approach. Now, how many grew up with a non-dualistic approach? I don't know, many of us. Good, bad, up, down. It's two different ways. I can remember my brother always saying, "Ooh, be careful, we don't want to go down there." And I would always look around and go, "Where is it that you're talking about?" My brother was special needs, so he had a very elementary outlook on things. He'd say, "Oh no pitchforks for me. We've got to be good." And I'm like, pitchforks, come on, because I would always want to push the system just a little bit. Could y'all tell that I would probably do that? But that helped me when I came to Unity, and I remember Reverend Howard Caesar in Unity Houston said, one presence, one power, and it is good. And I thought, where's the other part of that? And he said, there's not another part. That is it. So what's this other stuff going on? He goes, well, move to third principle. That's what you're co-creating because you're giving power to. Last week I talked about this. You're giving power over you to this, that, or the other. Right?
Yes. I think one of the things for me, going back to the first principle, that God is all there is, that Reverend Michael Beckwith and Ricky Beckwith Byers wrote a song, and it was, I am more than this. And that never occurred to me, that if God is all there is, then no matter what is happening in my life, no matter how sad or traumatic or even happy, at a momentary, fleeting happiness, that God is always more. There's more to it. That I am, that God is all there is. And if that is the truth, that no matter what I'm going through, that I am, that God presence within me is always more. Mm-hmm. More than life, more than death. It's always more than a diagnosis, more than the breakup of a great love affair. God is always more.
And what's so powerful about that is, we can align with them and go, yes, and nod, and I really get that, and that makes sense to me in my heart. But the tools, I always say the tools, number 4, prayer and meditation, yes. Denials and affirmations is so powerful. So when you think about prayer in unity, you mentioned it earlier, prayer is not beseeching. It's not begging. It's declaring, believing, and affirming.
Yes.
How did that shift for you? Because that's a huge difference in pleading and begging.
Oh, it was Emerson that said,
yeah.
Prayer is much more than begging or beseeching God. It is seeing from high possibility thinking. And now, of course, everybody's talking about quantum physics.
Right.
And I sent Doug such a beautiful thing, which he already knew. It was redundant, but it was done well. The quantum physics of prayer. And I said to Reverend Doug, she just named our 5 steps of prayer, the whole thing. It was us, it was unity. The quantum of not begging or beseeching, but knowing that God, again, God is always more. I don't have to beg or beseech. Again, I'm not some dust of the earth. I am God in action, so to speak.
Not as the original sin. You've heard that before, haven't you? You were born as the original blessing, came into this world to light it up,
Yes.
to bring only what you can bring. Do you believe that? I'm just wondering, do you believe that? And it's okay, working on it. I think we're all working on it, working on that belief system. Because it's such a rewiring, isn't it? Yep. Sharon said, yep, it is.
And some days more than others.
Some days more than others, depending on what's coming at us.
Yes.
I mean, I think we have a sacred responsibility, because you're going to all go, when I say this, but just turn on the news. Yeah. Thank you, Megan, for the cue there. But you look at what is being co-created out there. We have a sacred power right here within us to co-create something different. And it's about moving our feet too. You mentioned Michael Beckwith. Isn't that, I love it when this happens, because I was thinking about him and I brought this book.
Synchronicity.
And I know you love Michael Beckwith too. But on the fifth principle, there's 4, and then there's the 5 that's application. Michael Beckwith in Spiritual Liberation actually connects that. He writes so simply, it's easily digestible about frequency, but he says, practice, 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 practice. That which transforms your life is what you practice and practice again. And what you practice constitutes your personal laws of life. Not what you merely believe in or what you say yes to, but what you practice and praise.
Practice and praise.
It's all well and good to read a book, to attend seminars, to nod with wonderful lectures and workshops, and to say, oh, that really resonates with me. It's now part of my life's philosophy. But your philosophy may give you a temporary state of euphoria. But if you want to be anchored in reality, it takes practice, practice, practice. We're not here to be euphoric, but to get free from the bondage.
Yeah.
I love that. You love that? Michael Beckwith has got some good stuff. Anyone love Michael Beckwith in here? He's got some really good stuff.
And then how would we define bondage? And how do these, our 5 steps, how do they help us?
Well, it's the limiting thoughts that anchor us down. I'm not good enough. Shame, fear, doubt, unworthiness. Anyone dealt with the unworthiness or are dealing with it on a regular basis? I can't do all that because I can't figure all that out. Yes, you can. If it's your purpose and you're here to do whatever that is, you step fully into it. The Fillmores wrote about this, and it's a wonderful piece about when they started off, we're over 120 years ago, and it was publishing. It was that publishing and groups gathering in prayer, because they knew something new. And they wrote in the Story of Unity that if we would have gone and knocked on doors to ask people to help us fund this, it had been a lot of years. What we did is we just stood in declaration and did it, and the first publishing came out. And the next thing, a building was built to do the printing press. And then the next thing, because they stood there and they did what they knew they were called to do. They affirmed it, and everything began to align with what it is. And now there's an entire city called Unity Village outside of Kansas City that's still going on today. And here we are today because of Myrtle Fillmore deciding not to believe what she'd been taught her entire life, was that you're a sickly child. You're such a sickly little child. You're just a sickly child. She's one of those sickly children. That's what her family told her. And then through TB, tuberculosis, when that was taking so many lives, she decided to change her thoughts. And she said, no, if I'm a child of God,
That's right.
if I'm a child of God, this is what she really got. If I'm a child of God, then I can't inherit sickness. It is all divine good and health and wholeness. And that shifted her thinking. Therefore, she began working with it. She reserved a chair for the Spirit of Jesus Christ because that was her connection point. And she prayed and she prayed. It didn't happen overnight. The changing of the thinking did. But 2 years later, she was healthy and whole, and there was no evidence of any illness in her body. And she was one of the survivors during that time of tuberculosis. And guess what? We're here today still talking about it because Myrtle Fillmore did her work.
Yes.
And I do believe Charles was sitting there next to her taking notes going, whatever's going on, I want some of this.
That's exactly right.
Because he really did. He
Yeah.
took notes because he thought, what's happening, but I want more of that.
Yes. And I think we often have to be very clear. People will say, oh, you belong to a New Age church. No, we don't. We belong to a metaphysical church. And everything that Myrtle and Charles stated and said and wrote about, you can go all the way back to Plato. This is nothing new.
Right.
They just accidentally really went to a lecture and heard the truth that had been spoken for thousands of years and inculcated it, and here we are today. And yes, I am a child of God, and I cannot inherit illness. What a beautiful thing to say. You know, a doctor can diagnose all they want. God is the final prognosis.
Right, because you have to believe it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The belief is the entire thing about it. And their great-granddaughter, because this was such a profound teaching that was kind of widespread in their books through the years, their great-granddaughter was Connie Fillmore Bazzi. And it wasn't until the 80s she said, I've got to distill down my great-grandparents' really belief system so people can take it and use it. And she's the one that created or distilled it into 5 principles. And that's why we have these, and we
Yes.
created these, because I've kept my old one in my wallet for over a decade, because there's times I want to just look at it and remind myself that we are spiritual. Number 2, we are spiritual beings. We're navigating this human experience,
That's right.
but we are spiritual beings here to bring power and greatness and love into the world, and we each have that.
That's right. I love to think within every breath I breathe, God is. With every beat of my heart, God is. God is all that I am. It's such a beautiful thought.
I
You know,
am.
I am.
The power of the I am.
Yes. And Barbara, by herself, is just lost somewhere in the storm Peter was talking about. But the I am of me is so much more. And when I can let go of my old self and remember, my Father and I are one.
Yes.
God is all there is, one life, one activity taking place. I can take a deep breath and say, I know why I'm alive. I know why I'm alive.
Does anyone have a particular principle that you go to, that's your pocket principle that you take with you anywhere that you want to share? Anyone? What principle, if you think of one? See, every Sunday that I'm here, you go to school and I do that thing and you're like, what? You are supposed to talk. One presence, one power, God. That is principle 1. Megan?
Whenever I am askew, if there's something that's not quite right and I'm not in my usual place of peace, oh, wait a minute, I can pray and meditate about this.
Mm-hmm.
I can immediately go back to my peaceful God self by prayer and meditation.
Yeah, principle 4, prayer and meditation. And you know, each Sunday when we have that meditation space, that is truly a reminder that we have that in our lives available anytime we want. Sandra?
It's not only knowing the truth, but it's living.
Oh,
Principle
yeah.
number 5. Well, you can know 1 through 4, but 5 is the one that really puts it into action. Sandy?
I love the shorthanded version that we learned in our New Member class.
God is,
I am,
I am,
I
I think, I pray, I do. Yeah. Absolutely.
I like the second principle.
Second principle. Tell me the second principle, Chris, to you.
The second principle is this understanding that there is no separation between us and our Creator.
Mm-hmm.
But then every single person on the planet shares that. And so it helps me to move through traffic with a little less friction.
Yeah.
And appreciate just the uniqueness of every individual,
Mhm.
despite how things might appear on the exterior.
Because you are a vessel. Absolutely. I don't know if you've all met Chris, but I think you know he's a vessel. Do you realize that? Yeah. And so are you. One of the most powerful things that I was ever asked to share was the power of the I am. And I want to invite everyone to do that today. Together say, I am
I am
the light of the world.
the light of the world.
Okay, it might feel awkward at first, because for me, when I first said that, I thought, wait a minute, that's Jesus's thing. But you are. Together, I am the light of the world. And notice how that feels within you and what you do with that light in our world. It's a really powerful statement to take with you. One more time. I am the light of the world.
And if I don't let my light shine, then that part of the universal scheme of things is not lit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having this conversation.
Oh,
with
it's
me.
always good to talk with you,
Yeah.
Reverend Doug.
And 5 principles. You've heard a little of our messages over the last few weeks about 5 principles, but when people say, how do I really know what unity is and what it's about? I think it's always an easy go-to to just look at the 5 principles and begin taking those into your toolbox and begin working on those and finding, what can I do with the God is I am, I think, I pray, and I do. I take those action steps each day. It's up to each one of us. Life is a school, as Myrtle Fillmore said. Life is a school, and we're always at work. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you all for listening today, for joining us and being here. Thank you to Peter and Adam.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, what a joyful service we're having today. And I really do thank you. My yes to this community was because everyone was willing to do the work alongside. So thank you for being here.
Yes.
God bless.